Hi, everyone. We're going to get started now. I'm Marilyn Schultz with Cornerstone's Marketing and Communication Services Department, and I want to welcome you to today's presentation. Email Marketing 101 is the first of two sessions about email marketing that we think are very appropriate to launch this new Build Your Brand series. We'll continue this bi-weekly series through the summer, looking at many different marketing forms and strategies, so we hope you can join us for other webinars coming up. At Cornerstone, we're really all about providing value-added services for our broker partners. So if you haven't already done so, I encourage you to check out some of the other programs that we offer. Join Jeff Beglin every Wednesday morning for the Individual Corner, where he discusses the goings-on in the individual market, and he hosts special carrier guests that provide product updates and training. Another great series is the monthly Tech Tuesday with Tom Levine. Tom takes time out to provide easy-to-follow processes for us to use with today's technology, including tips and tricks you can apply to online programs. These webinars, plus all our scheduled events, can be found in the weekly Monday Minute or on the event calendar that's conveniently located on the front page of our website. So I'm going to hand off now to Jess, our Build Your Brand host. Jess, you want to get us started?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jess Larkin. I'm the Marketing Communications Specialist here at Cornerstone. My information in Maryland is right there on the screen. So if you'd like to get in contact with Marketing Communications, we can help you kind of flesh out ideas for refreshing your brand. We also have a number of different resources available on our broker-centric platform, which we've talked about before. If you don't already have a username and password, please feel free to contact me and we can get you started. I'm now going to turn over our presentation to our friend Hank Hoffmeyer from iContact, who's going to be discussing the value and the importance of email marketing. This is all very valuable information for you. And don't forget to tune in for the second part of the email marketing series, which is going to be on June 13th at 1:30. That's going to be our Email Marketing 201 presentation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Hank, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Jess. I appreciate everyone joining me today to talk about email marketing. What I'm going to do is bring up the PowerPoint here. Bear with me one second. And all right. If anybody's having any issues seeing my screen or my PowerPoint presentation, please let us know in the chat and we'll fix that for you. My name is Hank Hoffmeyer. I'm a Strategic Insights Manager at iContact. I do many different things here, but mostly I help potential and current iContact clients succeed with email marketing, whether it's something technical or just strategic in nature. I can be found on Twitter at Hank Hoffmeyer, and I can be connected with on LinkedIn. Just search for Hank Hoffmeyer. Please drop me a note mentioning this webinar if you want to connect with me today, because I do not accept the vanilla plain invites. All right. I've been fortunate enough in my life that I've never had to submit a home or auto insurance. I guess I'm kind of lucky. I never had to submit a claim. But that's what insurance is for, right? Just in case something happens. A good friend of mine, his name is Mike, he's an insurance adjuster, and I often hear numerous stories about people he meets and properties that he reviews. It sounds like his job is very interesting and yet challenging. I know when deer season is because I don't see much of Mike. He does a lot of auto insurance policies. For him, this is his busiest time of the year. In fact, I remembered him using an acronym, DEAR. It stands for Don't Even Expect a Reply. If you reach out to him with something personal in nature, or hey, are we getting together this weekend for a barbecue, I probably wouldn't hear back from him. So if it was a text or emailing him, I probably would have a delayed response, or maybe not even one at all. That was just his way of telling me he's busy, right? And I know you're busy, but you took time out of your day to be here today. So I wanted to find a great way to help you remember that email marketing is important, and how can you successfully run your email marketing campaigns. What I want you to remember today is that you just need to file a claim. What you want to do is create awareness, number one, of your email newsletters or your emails that go out, and number two, that they keep looking for it when it comes every month or every week, depending on how often you send. You want to leap into action. Just get in there, get started, start creating great, awesome, and valuable information for your subscribers so that you keep them in the know and keep them coming back for more. You also want to aspire to follow best practices. There's a few items we're going to go over when it comes to sending, design, subject lines that you should probably pay attention to because it's going to give you the best opportunity for success when it comes to your email marketing campaigns. And what you want to do is inspire subscribers to act. First and foremost, you want to provide value to your email subscribers, and that's going to be helpful information about what they can do, whether it's, home, auto, life, whatever it is that you are offering. Help them in their life first by telling them what they need to do, not the how. In other words, like we sell this or we offer this. Don't jump right in and sell. Provide them with valuable information that'll keep them coming back, and when they need something from you, they're going to act, because people do business with companies they know, like, and trust, and through email you can build all of that great relationship type of criteria such as trust and like. Lastly, and most important, you need to measure your results. Don't just create an email and send it and hope for the best. What you need to do is take a look at your results, find out what's working, what's not working, and make tweaks along the way. When it comes to email marketing, it's been around for a little while, roughly about, was it like 45 years, I think, as far as commercial. I met my wife in the early 1990s where AOL chat rooms were popular. I know everybody probably knows AOL, but they don't maybe know what AOL used to be. There used to be these chat rooms where people would go log in and talk, 20, 30, 40 people. And I used to stay up till around 2 a.m. chatting with my wife and, or soon-to-be wife and others on an AOL chat room. I used to connect to AOL through a dial-up modem. That meant my modem or my computer was connected to a physical phone line, and the connection was very slow, and it made an awful sound when it connected. It wasn't always on. I actually had to dial in, then it would connect, and then I can go in and check my email. When it comes to email, it was not something that I would check every minute or maybe even every hour because I was not always connected to the internet back then. Inboxes were not flooded with promotional email way back when either. It was mostly for personal use, and then some business emails would be in there as well. If we look forward a little bit more, the term spam was added to the Oxford Dictionary in 1998, and the canned spam law, which is here in the US, was introduced in 2003. And in 2012, 40% of emails were opened on a mobile device, and today, I just looked that stat up, it's 53%, so that keeps climbing. You want to make sure that your emails are relevant for mobile devices, and we'll cover that in a little while as well. You may not think email has changed over time, but a lot of things have, especially volume, and more importantly, the amount of spam that we're getting in our inboxes, or maybe we're not seeing because they are in our spam folder. The amount of sheer emails that go out every day is staggering. And we also check our email on our phone, on tablets, as well as our computer, so you need to be cognizant of that. Now, virtually raise your hand if you check your email when you wake up in the morning. I bet most of you are right now, and if you're not, you're probably saying, yeah, I do, or no, I don't. According to the IDC, 80% of us check our email within 15 minutes of waking up. That means timing is important, right? You want to make sure you get your email in front of people when they're going to read that, and that could be first thing in the morning, maybe around lunchtime, and then early in the evening. Just think people are at work. Are they always checking their personal email? So if you can just determine if somebody has a personal email, maybe you send it at a certain time. And if you know it's a business email, you can send it at a different time during the business day when somebody's going to be opening it. And we'll talk about testing. What you're going to want to do is take a look at what people are doing with your emails and when they're doing things with your emails, and make those adjustments accordingly. So what makes email marketing so effective? It's effective because 95% of consumers use email. Also, it's a place that people visit every day. It helps establish trust and builds loyalty. It complements other marketing channels like your social media channels, and you can use one to drive traffic to the other and vice versa. And it increases brand awareness. Even if somebody doesn't open your email, but it sits in their inbox, they're seeing your brand name, and that's important. Email also allows you to target and personalize for higher engagement. 72% of consumers say that email is their favorite method of communication with companies they do business with. Therefore, it's important that you definitely get in front of them using email. I like to talk about when I get a haircut, because most people need a haircut every now and then, right? I know that I always usually go to Great Clips because they're really great about sending me coupons in my email, allowing me to, number one, remember I need a haircut, and number two, that I can save on getting that haircut. They do a great job of using email to keep me forefront of their mind. And if I think about insurance, I have State Farm for my home and auto insurance. And they send me a lot of great emails about how to keep my home safe while I'm traveling, keep it safe from burglars, as well as maintaining my car if I'm going to take a trip. Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to check if I'm going to go on a long trip? What fluids or do I need to check in, is air pressure important? They do a great job of that. They're not always trying to upsell me on, say, life insurance or something else, or maybe adding another car, or, how old are your children now? Are they going to have a car soon? They don't sell me. They're always providing me with valuable information. And when the time is right, I'll probably reach out to State Farm. So we talked about email is important, but why would you want to use email? Well, it's 40 times more effective than, say, pay-per-click or social media. According to Pew Research, 6 in 10 Americans who use the internet say email is very important for doing their job. And like I said, a lot of people check their email while they're at work or use a business email address for some of their newsletters as well. 83% of B2B marketers use email newsletters for content marketing. That's a high number. Therefore, it is important that you stay in the know to find out what works with email marketing and what can you be doing better. And if you're not currently using email marketing, you need to get started. Email marketing does not need to be a headache. I've been with iContact for 8 years now, and I thought I knew how email marketing worked, but I'm still learning as well. Therefore, webinars like this and upcoming webinars we're going to have will help you do better and do more. It's not as easy as just getting a list of subscribers and sending to them. There are some best practices you need to follow, and we're definitely going to cover those today. All right, I want to get personal for a moment, or I want to talk about email personalization and how it can help you become more effective. You can inject the first name of your email subscribers into the subject line as well as the body of your email. I don't know about you, but I like to hear my name. And if it's in an email, it resounds with me more and helps build trust. It stands out in the inbox, in the subject line, and in the body copy. It almost makes me feel like that email is tailored towards me. And if it's somebody's birthday, if you gather that information, you can send them an email and wish them a happy birthday. It allows them to build a little bit more of a relationship with you because they like if you remember when their birthday is, even though you can automate it. If you sell in different regions and you know what area they're located and you can send them information relevant to that area, that's also helpful. Make sure you do that if you can. And then lastly, we have products. If you're selling a product or a service or a line of insurance, you can include information about that in the email. And if it's something that you gathered information from your subscribers on what they're interested in, you could definitely use that to personalize the email a little bit more. It could be 1 or 2 lines for one person and totally different lines for another subscriber. All right, we talked about why you should use email marketing, but how does it really work? When you just send an email, you're just going to go ahead, put contacts on a list, create an email, say, hello, Joe, do you want to buy insurance from me? Click here if you do, right? And you're going to send it, and then all of a sudden you're going to have so many customers, right? Well, it doesn't really work that way. First, you want to build your audience. What you're going to do is acquire subscribers through a sign-up form on your website, maybe in person. You can be typing it on your phone. It can be through business cards or a paper form. No matter how you get this audience, just make sure that you have permission to email them, especially with these new laws like GDPR that came out. It may not holistically affect us here in the US, but it does because we are held accountable if we are emailing someone that has a EU email address or resides there as well. But you probably can count on the legislation changing here in the United States as well. What you want to do is make sure you develop a professional looking template so that you're conveying your branding appropriately and that people will want to read your email because aesthetically it looks pretty cool. And what you also want to do is make sure that you're providing value to your subscribers. Remember what I mentioned about State Farm. Inject helpful information to your email. And you also want to send the right message to the right person at the right time so that your email is going to be engaged with more and less people will ignore it or mark your message as spam. Use data that you have to help your emails do better. If somebody's opening more emails, you can send them a couple more emails. If they're opening less, you could try to beg, plead, and borrow to get them to open your emails once again. Or again, if you have location information, use that. Birthday, I mentioned that. Any type of data you have, maybe what lines of insurance does somebody have, and then what do they not have, and then you can send them emails relevant to what you're trying to get them to do. Sign up for a new line. And then you want to analyze your results and look at your ROI or return on investment and find out what needs improvements. Look at your results, analyze, do some testing, rinse and repeat, and then make those adjustments so that you're always doing better. Strive for a little uptick in all of your metrics, and we'll go over that as well soon. All right, let's talk about the basics when it comes to email marketing. I'd like to think about 3 things that you need to know. The first one is using a sign-up form. When you have a sign-up form on your website or if you're using a landing page, only ask for the information you need to start a relationship with them. And usually that's going to be first name and email address, right? I don't know about you, but if I saw a form that wanted first name, last name, my date of birth, my favorite color, what kind of car I had, what my children's names were, what their date of birth was, I'm not going to fill out that form. There are too many companies out there that ask for too much information that they don't need. Reduce the amount of friction and just ask for what you need at the onset. And maybe it could be a couple of bits of information. Maybe you need a phone number so you can call them for a quote or something, and that's fine. But if you can get away with first name and email address, you can always ask for more information later through surveys or through our manager subscription form, so on and so forth. But like I said, just keep it as minimal as possible. You can also use pop-up forms and then exit intent technology. In other words, when somebody goes to leave that page or leave your website, a pop-up will come up and say, hey, wait, don't leave. Do you want to sign up for a newsletter? So make sure you don't do that right away, because if I come to your website and all of a sudden I have this pop-up form in my face, I don't even know what you do or what you offer, and I'm going to close that out and I'm going to ignore it. Give me a little while, maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds, then serve that up. Hey, now that you saw our website, I want to start a relationship with you, and you serve up that form. Next is going to be welcome emails. When you gather email addresses, and especially if it's through a sign-up form, you want to send them an email right away to start that relationship off and remind them that they started the relationship. Send a welcome email. Hey, welcome to my email newsletter. Here's what you can expect. I send an email once a week, and it'll have helpful information on how you can save money on insurance. You can opt out at any time, et cetera, et cetera. Just start that relationship off by setting expectations so that a week later or the following week, when they receive these emails, they remember that they signed up for your emails. If you receive my email address and don't email me for a whole month, I may actually turn around and say, I don't remember signing up for this email, and then ignore your email. So set a relationship right away. And templates, again, just make sure that you have a professional looking template, and maybe even have a different look and feel, like a couple different varieties of them. One can be long form content and the other one short. One can be heavy on images and maybe the other one a little bit light on images, or maybe one with no images at all and mostly text and maybe your signature on the bottom. It's very important to ensure that your branding is consistent in your emails. In other words, if I receive an email, it doesn't look like it's coming from you, I may not trust that email and open. I'll probably just delete it. You also want to include your brand colors, your some of your content or verbiage, and then also your logo. Let's look at some examples so that you know what to do when you're creating your emails. Here's one from Cornerstone. When you go to their website and maybe after a little while and you're stagnant, you're going to get a pop-up and it's going to say click here to subscribe, and hopefully you're going to click on that on that button and subscribe. And we're asking for mandatory name, an email, which is awesome, right? But then all the other fields are optional, which is good. I mentioned phone number, so that's pretty good there. And I like the I agree button at the bottom. It's kind of like a double opt-in almost. I'm giving you my information, then I'm saying I want this newsletter. Makes me feel a little bit more like I'm giving them permission to email me. So this is a good example. And I just wanted to provide you an example of a simple sign-up form, and Fuji here is just asking for an email address. Simple. For exclusive content, updates, and discount codes, you enter your email address and they start sending you emails. Here on the left, we have an email from Biscayne Tavern, and you'll notice they're asking for birthday. I don't know about you, but I love free food. And I know that restaurants, for the most part, the reason why they ask for a birthday is to send out coupons for free or discounted meals at least once per year. I would happily provide my date of birth or my birthday, or at least my month, for a free meal. They're also asking, what areas are you interested in receiving emails for when it comes to Biscayne? Maybe you travel often in Miami, or maybe you live in the Los Angeles area. On the right, we have BK Newsletter, and they're asking you, what emails do you want from us? We have a variety of different topics we could talk to you about. First one would be food. Are you hungry? Also, maybe just find out about nightlife in Bangkok. And also, do you want to subscribe to our PDF magazine? They're giving you those options. And then at the bottom, you can just click to sign up for all of those. Let's look at some welcome. Yes.
Just a quick question about those sign-up forms. Which of those options would you say would be the most effective, specifically insurance brokers trying to get opt-ins from people that want to hear from them?
Right. If you have a general newsletter, I would say first name and email address, that's all. You can always get more information later. But if it's a specific landing page that's for a quote, you want to ask for the information you need to give that quote, because they're ready. That means they went to that website. I want a quote for, say, auto insurance. I might need to know how far they drive to work, what make and model of the car, what year. So that would be okay if it's a specific page that is going to work. Then I'm going to get frustrated if I'm just giving my name and email. Then I got to go back through and provide that information for a quote again later. So if it's for a simple newsletter, a monthly newsletter, first name and email address. And then, like I said, if it's something that's going to be giving me more information, ask for more.
Got it.
All right, let's look at some welcome emails. Here we have No More Rack on the left, and they're giving you $10 when you spend $30. They tell you how they work, how the website works, and how to do business with them, as well as a link to the deals of the day. And then there's a thank you from the CEO there, kind of in the middle. And that's a nice touch there. And then Sur La Table in the middle, they're offering free shipping. It's a general welcome email, but they're also highlighting classes that they have in store, trying to drive foot traffic. And Wisteria on the left gives you 10% off for signing up. And these are some good coloring here, and they follow their brand style guidelines. And I know these are mostly retail, but I think these are just well done. And I have a couple more here, so we'll go through those as well in the templates. So
what kind of information specifically should they think of adding when they're communicating directly with a client to a welcome email? Would that just be like a general hello from their agent, or what kind of information should they include to keep it kind of simple and capture their audience right away?
That's really going to depend on each individual and what they offer. If it's, a small firm, you can send out the welcome just saying thank you for signing up for our newsletter. Here's what you can expect. I send out helpful information once a month. Then maybe you can introduce some people on staff and so that they can get to know them. Here's what we do. Here's what we do for our community. Don't make it too long, but you can also do a welcome series. So the first email can go out right away, and then a few days later, another email about, the staff or some of the employees, and then a few more days later, it can be about what you do in the community, stuff like that. It's building that relationship and trying to convey your why you're in business. What makes you different from your competitors or other types of companies that might be in competition with you.
Perfect.
All right, so I included the one on the left. This is something our design team made for the Oregon State Marine Board. And it's a general template. It has a hero image at the top and some text, and then just some other placeholder images and text and buttons. It's just classic, up and down type of template. And at the bottom, it has their social media channels as well as their main ones at the top right. And Stanley Korshak on the right is what I call a hero image. It's a large image trying to convey either a sale, a new product, a new service, or just highlighting something that you want to really have a lot of attention on. And then below, you can have some text. And then I-80 equipment uses the classic Z pattern. In other words, we read from left to right and then down. So this template, when the images are in there, it's going to drive your eyeballs from left to right and down. So what they're trying to do is get you to look at their inventory. What products do they have, or what trucks do they have? Then also I like to point out, social media, and then they have a video at the lower left there. It's important to do that because humans are visual by nature, and images and video tend to do better than just stagnant text. And then Macon, Georgia, has an email newsletter. And I love how playful this one looks. It's just so simple. It thanks you for, and welcomes you into the fold. I don't know about you, but I'd love to click on the Learn More button and learn more about Macon and possibly visit there. And then Back to Rock is showcasing different subjects clearly. What they're doing is using different colors and vibrant colors to draw your eye from left to right so you get to know about different things. Think about if you have different lines of insurance, you can highlight those in those different blocks right there where those examples are. And then the Bates group, what they're doing is they are actually using different font to draw your eyes down, which I think is very helpful. And then Astro on the right, they're using a centered layout to call attention to the products and the supportive testimonials. What's important to note here is on a mobile device, having centered content is important because it's easier to read. So just file that one in a way in the back of your mind. And then we have the Jones Agency here. They have some vibrant colors and different colors to draw your attention to different areas of the email. In other words, if you just had a logo and then maybe had your social media profiles and then you just started with some text and you just like verbally vomited, into your editor, I'm probably not going to read that. But if you break it up with some color, some spacing, some block, maybe even a little bit of white space, it's going to make your email stand out a little bit more. Emails have a good mix of images, video, and text. And as I mentioned, it's important to have a couple different variations of a template, maybe one with more images and one with more text. It's going to depend on the content that you want to convey in there. Maybe it's a change to somebody's policy. That one's going to have a lot more text. And if you're introducing a new type of insurance, maybe you can include a video or some text to help convey what that's going to be about. And I mentioned, we're visual by nature, so we love to see images and video. So try to use some more video if you can, and use images, and try to stay away from stock images if you can. Use real images. You want to make sure that you're using quality images, right? Because there's nothing worse than grainy images or images that might not render properly on a mobile device, because you got to make sure people at times are going to be out and about and they won't have access to Wi-Fi. So just make sure that the image size is also appropriate.
Speaking of working on a mobile device, we've found that an overwhelming amount of clients prefer to open these emails, such newsletters from their agents and so on, through their mobile device. So if you were to compare the amount of images that you would use on a computer to the amount that you would use on a cell phone, how does that differ? Would you use limited amount of images knowing that your audience is going to be more likely to open it up on their smartphone, or how does that work?
Right, you want to take a look at how it's going to render on the mobile device, and you want to break up images with some text here and there. In other words, there's nothing worse than image, 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 and it's not really relevant. I don't know what it means because there's no supportive text. Kind of break it up so that there's an image and some text, image and some text, or and maybe some white space and a button or something like that. The version A here on this screen here, has a logo, a little bit of space, has a video, a little bit of space, text, and then space, and then a button. So kind of look at that on a mobile device too, just to make sure that, you know, what you see on the screen at that given time is going to be engaging, and you should be able to see that pretty quickly. You probably see some emails on your mobile device because the sizes are going to be different. There's some people that probably still have an old 5S iPhone, and then other people that have, you know, the Galaxy Note, which is huge, right? It's going to render a little bit differently on each one. But then again, hopefully, you know, if they're adaptive enough, the images may shrink down and look pretty good. And there's nothing worse than using non-responsive templates. In other words, it looks one way on a desktop and another way on a phone, stacking, because if it just shrinks down, which the iPhone definitely does if you don't use mobile responsive templates, it's hard to read, and nobody wants to zoom in anymore, use their fingers to pinch and zoom in on something. So what I would do is take a look at it, and there's services like Litmus and Email and Acid that you can actually use to see what your email looks like across a whole variety of different devices.
Great. I just also wanted to let all the attendees know that in the future webinars, we'll be covering basics for how to obtain your images online so that you don't have that pixelation problem, and so that they do look a little bit high quality on each device that you would be sending it to. And we'll also go over some platforms that are available to create videos and stuff like that, so that this will be something that is a little bit easier for you in the future. So these are really great news. Thanks.
All right. All right, one thing you want to make sure is that, you know, your images are under 600 pixels wide, and this will help them render correctly in almost all email clients. You know, the width can change. I mean, the height can change a little bit. Make sure the width is 600 pixels. And have a good mix of images and text like we were just talking about. What you want to make sure is, for the most part, have at least one paragraph of text for every image. Or a general rule of thumb is a 60-40 split, meaning 60% text, 40% images. And hopefully that helps. And most email marketing tools might even tell you if you have a good text to image ratio and help you out there. And also, like I said, at times, just text-only templates actually work sometimes, and especially if you're trying to build a relationship with someone and you haven't spoken to them for a while, just send them a kind of a text-only with your logo, and just ask them, you know, if they still want to be in a relationship with you, and try to get them back into the fold without trying to, you know, show pictures of a product or a service, or with a video trying to sell them. Make sure your call to action is clear and engaging. You know, make sure that, you know, your emails look awesome on that mobile device. Use Litmus, use Email on Acid. Make sure that it's rendering correctly. There's nothing worse than having an email that is hard to read or not understandable at all. And make sure you're taking a look at your subject lines. You want to split test your content. And what you want to do is take one version of your email and test it against another. In other words, you have one subject line and then another. And what you're going to do is you'll send, say, 10% of your list, one version of a subject line, then another 10% list, another 10% of your list, another version of your subject line. And then what you're going to do is take the one that does better and send it to the remaining 80% of your list. That's called a 10-10-80. And I had a client that worked with me years ago, and he always does split tests. And he said, I don't know why everyone doesn't do this. It's like getting free emails, free email opens with every send. And that's true, because what you're doing is you're finding out which subject lines do the best or resound the best and convert more. When it comes to retail, a lot of people always test a percentage off versus dollar off, and at times it can be different. It really depends on the price of the product or the service when you're using those percentages, because the higher the price, the percentage might be more appealing, whereas lower the price, dollar might be better, but it's not always true. Right, and I think, you know, we want to talk about when things are mobile responsive, you know, what is the difference? What you want to do is, sometimes you might think how it's going to look on a mobile device because you're building it and you say it's responsive. Go and check and see what it looks like, because maybe you use a laptop or a desktop the whole time, never really use your phone to check your own emails you're going to send out. You want to take a look at those because the experience can differ. All right, we talked about measuring and analyzing your results. So what do you need to be looking at, and where do you need to be? You know, every email marketing, email service provider is going to provide you with statistics and analytics for you to look at. But when it comes to you in the insurance agency, your open rates should probably be around 20%. I believe it's like 21.5% is the average for insurance right now. So make sure you're in line with that. And if you're not, make sure you're doing some things that you can do to improve your open rates. And if you're doing better than that, pat yourself on the back, because you're doing better than the average. Clicks for insurance are at about 2%, but I would like for you to be around 5%. Industry on average, 5% is going to be awesome. So strive to get around a 5% click-through rate. Now, you're going to get more click-through rates if you're just providing better information. In other words, if you're using a blog and you link back to a blog post, there's a way to get more click-throughs. Once you get them to your site, there's things you can do there to try to get them to contact you or to convert. Unsubscribe rate, or people that unsubscribe from your email newsletter, you want to stay below about 5 per thousand, or 0.05%. And bounces, or email addresses that either go bad or start out bad, you want to be less than 1%. What's interesting to note is your domain has a reputation. In other words, the more positive things that happen to your emails, like your open rate, your click rate, maybe if they have Gmail, like starring it, marketing it as important, or even a reply, are all considered positive engagement. Negative engagement would be unsubscribe rate, spam complaints, or bounce rates. What you want to do is stay away from those as much as possible, or keep them as low as possible, because those bring down your reputation. Now, treat it like a credit score. If you have a high credit score, in other words, a lot of people are doing positive things, you're going to get into the inbox more. Then at some point, let's just say you have some more unsubscribes, bounces, complaints, where people are totally just ignoring your email, and then your credit score drops to, say, a 60%. And I'm just making up a number here, because all the providers like Gmail and business providers are going to be different. What happens is once you get to, say, that 60%, more of your emails go to spam. And that's because your reputation is low. It's not holistically the IP addresses, which is what is provided by your service provider. Most of the reputation is on your domain. So you want to send out valuable, helpful, and engaging emails rather than trying to sell the whole time, because if you don't, more of your emails will go to spam and not the inbox.
For these benchmarks, Hank, are they for unique opens and unique clicks, or are these just in general?
I would say that's for, unique. Like, in other words, if the same person opens a few times, that shouldn't factor into what your percentage should be. 20% of everyone on your list that you sent to for that email should be opening.
Okay, got it.
And the more, what do you want to call it, unique people that are giving you those positive signals is what helps you. The multiple positive intent from one person helps that person more. In other words, it might go to the inbox for me, but it might go to spam for you.
Got it.
All right, so one of the first things people see when they get an email is the subject line, right? So the first thing you can do is personalize that subject line. Hey, Hank, just wanted to see how well your car was running. Or, hey, did you know that, did you know that you should change your oil every 3 months, or something like that? And just use the first name in the subject line to get me to open that email. You can also use numbers, symbols, and emoji. Emojis becoming very popular, especially with Instagram, with Twitter. You can also use that in your email subject lines and even in the body, but you just need to be careful, because email is not supported in every single email client. So don't let it take away from the message of your subject line. Just test it a little bit and make sure it's going to work. And sometimes you might not want to replace a word with an emoji, because if it doesn't render, how would that look? Subject line should be between 6 and 10 words in length. This is optimal because it'll have a less chance of being cut off in the inbox view. It's nothing worse than having your message cut off and somebody not knowing what your message is going to be about. And I mentioned that split testing. Make sure that you're not only testing your subject lines, but test content. Test how many images or what type of verbiage you're going to use, long form versus short form. One thing that's important to note is only test one element at a time. In other words, don't test your subject line while you're also testing how many images, because you will not be able to tell which one actually helped win that test. And there's something called a pre-header as well, and you may have seen this in your inbox, especially in Gmail. You receive an email and it has the subject line, save 20% on insurance. And then right next to that is some more text. And that is the first bit of text that is in your email at the top of your email. Years ago, you probably saw a lot of emails that said, cannot view this email, click here to view online. And that would be your pre-header text. But now you're seeing a lot of other things. It'll say save 20% on insurance, call for a customized quote now would be your pre-header. Think of it as an extension of your subject line. And this will help you convince more people to open your email. It's kind of like a preview to your email. All right, so now that I've presented you with an undeniable and helpful set of information about email marketing, you cannot deny my claim that it's an appreciable asset rather than a liability. I know it's a horrible statement, but I thought I had to do that just because you guys are in insurance here. But remember that you need to create awareness, leap into action, aspire to follow best practices, inspire subscribers to act, and then also measure your results so that you can tweak your campaigns to do better. For today's webinar, what I'd like to do is if you are looking for an email service provider and you'd like to try iContact out, we do have a 30-day trial period. After that, if you use the coupon code HANKFRIEND, you'll get a $30 exclusive discount. It's a little bit more than most of our discounts, and that can be applied once you sign up for iContact. So HANKFRIEND, just remember that. If you need a reminder, let me know. I myself have a newsletter. Actually, it's a journal. I send out helpful information about apps I find, books or audio books, podcasts, and just anything that helps me organize my day and helps me be a little bit more efficient. In general, I like helping small and mid-sized businesses grow and do better with digital marketing. And I also let you know what's going on with me, with what I'm doing. And it might be other webinars and other information. Just text Hank to 345-345. And you'll also get a taste of how I use email marketing a little bit for myself as well. So with that, Jess and I would love to hear what kind of questions might be out there.
Thanks, Hank. That was a really great presentation. We'd really like to open up the floor for some questions that you'd like Hank or myself to answer. Just go to the little bar on the side of your screen and hit the questions down arrow. And if you have any, just type them in there and we'll answer them. I do first have a question for you, Hank. I've noticed that with email marketing, it is a lot of trial and error. And you said that the best way to, get the best content out there is to measure your results. So if somebody is just starting out in email marketing and is trying to find out what kind of templates and what kind of information is going to work for them, what kind of information should they be looking at? Opens and clicks, and what other kind of metrics should they be paying attention to?
Right. Well, the opens usually correlate to the subject line, and then the clicks usually convey to the content inside. Your unsubscribes are going to let you know if the content or your emails in general are resounding, right? And it could be if you're sending too many times, like if you send 5 days a week, that might be a reason for an unsubscribe. But if you're doing once a week or once a month and your unsubscribe rate is pretty high, that means that that information is not valuable, right? The most important thing you can do is have use a survey and find out from your subscribers what they want, or connect with some people that maybe you know them and they have policies with you and you have their phone number. Ask them, and don't be afraid to find out from your audience. Like if I go to a store, usually a showroom somewhere, what's the first thing that happens? A sales rep's going to come up to me and ask me if I need help, right? Or what am I looking for? I'm looking for this. Half the time, especially car salesmen, they don't listen to what I'm saying. They'll show me what they want to show me. But mostly they're asking that question so that they can tailor that conversation or find the right product or service for me. The same thing should be for your email newsletter, right? It used to be a statement you'd say, talk about what your subscribers want to talk about. And if it's ice cream, right? But yeah, you got to be careful about that, because then all of a sudden your messaging gets lost. But what you could do is find a way to tie in ice cream to your messaging or something. Like, ice cream is like insurance, blah, blah, blah. But what you want to do is just make sure, if people want information about, it depends on, I guess, what the insurance agent's selling, what type of insurance. But like I mentioned with State Farm, I get information about my vehicle, my house, which tie right back to those lines that they have. And they may sprinkle in some stuff about life insurance as well, because maybe they want to get me intrigued and try to get me to add that to my policy with them there. So a lot of it's fluid. You want to start out and just get started. If you're not doing email marketing, the first thing to do is get started and get that welcome email, then figure it out as you go, right? People are forgiving to an extent, but look at your metrics. Look at those opens, look at those clicks, and look at the unsubscribe rate. Like the bounce rate means that those email addresses are invalid, so there's another problem there. Spam complaints means that they didn't want to take the time to unsubscribe and they're just marking it as spam. That means they felt compelled to really get off of your email newsletter. So then there's something seriously wrong. but don't send out what you want to send out. Send out what they would feel is valuable, I guess is the strongest statement I could say to that.
Okay, perfect. We actually had somebody also ask if we could go back to the slide about what claim stands for.
Claim, I mean, that'd probably be the first one, because I know it's in my notes there. Let me just go out of this way. All right, file a claim, create awareness, leap into action, aspire to follow best practices, inspire subscribers to act, and measure your results.
And I also had a question for the text number. I'll go ahead and answer that so it can stay on the claim screen. The text message, or the text number that you can get to get Hank's newsletter is 345-345, and you just text Hank.
And I know I mentioned this once, but make sure that you are getting permission from people to email them so you don't get in trouble. Never ever buy an email marketing list, because even though you think that the results might be good, there's more potential harm than there is a reward. And then also just make sure you're providing that valuable information.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any additional questions? I have one that I'm answering privately here, but the floor is still open for questions for just a couple more minutes here.
And anyone can reach out to me on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn somehow and ask that question. I'd be happy to. I've done numerous talks where people have reached out to me on Twitter and we've had a decent conversation.
Okay. Well, it seems that that is all the questions we're going to get. If you have any additional questions, like Hank said, you can connect with him on social media or email or whatever, or you can connect with Marketing Communications at Cornerstone if you have more specific questions for, we have a couple questions about Medicare as well, how to market when you are working in the Medicare sector. So you can contact us at mcs@crnstone.com and we can answer those questions a little bit more specifically. Okay, I think that is going to be all today. Hank, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be having the second part of this webinar on June 13th at the same time, 1:30 p.m. So be sure to tune in for Email Marketing 201, where we're going to go into a little bit more depth. If you have any additional questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you so much.